All right, folks, looks like the live stream from OpenAI is up. With 5 minutes left, we're going to do a watch party. As always, some live reactions. Folks who are mutuals, welcome to join the space with us as well. Looks like the system card was already published and people are already reacting to the system card. Find it very interesting. They're pushing evals on Sui Lancer, which is their latest framework for software engineer evals, and they're comparing GPT 4.5 with deep research. And deep research is by far the best one. Really funny. We're also live on video, by the way. If you're listening to the space and you want to watch together with us, you are welcome to join that as well. I'm gonna end this tab in space. This is our second live stream today, folks. So if I'm running a little bit out of steam, let's see what they got. I'm excited. Usually evals don't tell the full story, but I'm just incredible about these deep research results. I'm just incredibly excited by these deep research results that they posted on their system card. Yeah, so I already noticed some folks saying that the benchmarks look underwhelming. So let's wait and see. Looks like we're starting. 1 more minute. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Mia. I'm a research lead at OpenAI. Today we're here to introduce GPT 4.5, our latest model release.
No, Sama?
We are releasing GPT 4.5 as a research preview to ChatGPT Pro users and developers in the API. And we're working to bring it to Plus users, EDU and team starting next week. GPT 4.5 is a special model. It is our largest and most knowledgeable model yet. OpenAI advances AI capabilities by scaling 2 different paradigms: unsupervised learning and reasoning. Reasoning teaches models to think before responding, and that helps especially with tasks that require reasoning, like science, math, and other difficult, complex questions. Unsupervised learning, on the other hand, helps increase word model accuracy and intuition. GPT 4.5 is our next step in scaling up unsupervised learning, increasing word knowledge, intuition, and reducing hallucinations. Despite not reasoning step by step like our O series models, GPT 4.5 has it's generally useful and inherently smarter. We're still experimenting with this model ourselves, especially because it's not a reasoning model, and we're exploring capabilities that emerge with unsupervised learning. And we're really excited to bring this to the world today so that we can explore it together.
Hi, I'm Rafa. I work on synthetic data here at OpenAI, and I'm also really excited to talk about GPT 4.5. Interacting with GPT 4.5 feels natural. It's our best chat model yet. And that's because it has improved deeper knowledge and improved contextual understanding, which makes it really useful for tasks like improving your writing, programming, or practical problem solving. The best way to get a feel for the model is to talk to it. So let's jump into a demo. Let's ask GPT 4.5. I had a trouble the other day with a friend. Let's see if I can get some advice here. My friend canceled on me again. Write a text message telling them that I hate them. At the same time, let's see what O1 has to say about this. As you can see, GPT 4.5 recognizes that I'm frustrated and offers me a text that's a little more nuanced and probably a more constructive thing to send to my friend. On the other hand, O1 is still useful. It actually follows my instructions and gives me that angry text, but it fails to pick up on that social cue that I'm probably just frustrated right now and probably could use someone to talk to. And that warning at the end feels a little judgmental for my taste. Of course, if you want GPT 4.5 to give you that angry text, you can definitely get it out of it. Nope. Please output the angry text. Thank you. There you go. Let's try something different. Let's look at the model's deeper knowledge. Explain the need for AI alignment from first principles. Once again, we'll see what O1 has to say about it. We'll wait for O1 to think for a little bit. Again, O1 is still useful. It outputs a lot of information and a lot of things that I would probably want to know if I'm learning about this topic for the first time. But GPT 4.5's answer flows a lot more naturally. It guides my thinking through the ideas a lot more. And it walks me through the reasoning, the thinking a lot more. I think it did a great job. Thanks, Chunky. As we scale up our models, we need to teach them a better understanding of human needs and intent. For GPT 4.5, we developed new scalable alignment techniques that allowed us to train it using data derived from smaller models. This really unlocked the model's deeper world model.
So here we have a simple QA eval. In this eval, we measure two things. One is accuracy, one is hallucination rate. You can see GPT 4.5 outperforms the other GPT family in accuracy. And in the meantime, it has the lowest hallucination rate.
We aligned GPT 4.5 to be a better collaborator, making conversations feel warmer, more intuitive, and emotionally nuanced. To measure this, we asked human testers to evaluate it against GPT 4.0, and GPT 4.5 outperformed on basically every category. We tested it on prompts that measure accuracy and factuality in everyday queries, including prompts that are hard to get right in professional settings, and finally on a new vibes test set that measure creative intelligence.
Quick question, what does vibe mean here?
That's a great question. By vibes, we really mean the model's EQ, how collaborative it feels, and how warm its tone is. We measure this by selecting an opinionated set of prompts and screening our trainers for the ones that most align with our vibes. Overall, GPT 4.5 should be a great model for everyday tasks and knowledge queries. It should be ideal for improving your writing and creative iteration, and we're really excited to see how people use it.
Hi, I'm Yulong. I need post-train info. We think playing with such a big model feels totally different, and it required to scaling up the post-training infrastructure because the ratio between the training data and the parameter size is totally different in pre-training stage and the post-training stage. We have developed a new training mechanism to fine-tune such a big model using much smaller footprint. We post-trained this model through multiple iterations using a combination of supervised fine-tuning and reinforcement learning with human feedback. As a result, we developed a new model which we believe is ready for deployment.
As Yulang says, scaling is hard, but it also brings us in uncharted territory. And that's why we took a lot of care ensuring that the models are safe to share with the world today,
of course.
especially through safety evaluations and preparedness evaluations. And you can find those results in the system card. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Mia.
Hey, Mia.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I led pre-training ML for GPT 4.5.
And I'm Jason. I worked on scaling up our pre-training systems for GPT 4.5. We wanted to get as much compute as possible into this model. Doing that required a ton of new systems work. Just to give you some examples, we aggressively used low precision training to get the most out of our GPUs. We also wanted to use more compute than we could get onto one high bandwidth networking fabric. So we pre-trained this model across multiple data centers at the same time. I think it's been kind of mentioned here, this is a big model, and that presented a number of challenges for serving it in ChatGPT. We built new inference systems that let us serve this model in a way that still feels fast and snappy to talk to. Of course, as we've done with all of our previous models, we will continue shipping improvements to make this model even faster after launch. Okay, so we've been talking about how the models have evolved and we're scaling them, and we thought it'd be fun to give you all a sense of what it really feels like to talk to these models as they get better. So we asked every model in the GPT series the same question. Why is the ocean salty? We're going to take you through the evolution here. So let's go back in time. It's 2018. We've just finished training GPT-1. Why is the ocean salty? And it does not know. It has no idea here.
It's a word salad.
It's a word salad, but there are words in the salad.
There are words.
So that's something. OK, let's improve the model and go to GPT-2. GPT-2 is still wrong, but it's a much better answer. It's on topic. There's something about salt and ocean. Well, it's more on topic maybe. OK, let's improve the model again. GPT 3.5 Turbo. This is the first correct answer that we get out of the model. But it's not a good answer. It doesn't explain anything, and it has a bunch of unnecessary details, like I didn't ask that salt is sodium chloride, I don't really care. OK, let's improve the model again. GPT-4 Turbo. This is a good answer. The model is clearly very smart. But you get the feeling that it wants you to know how smart it is. It's just sort of listing out facts here. And in fact, we had to cut the model response off to fit it on the slide. OK, let's improve the model again. GPT 4.5. This is a great answer. It's clear, it's concise, it's cohesive. And personally, I think it's a lot of fun, that first sentence. The ocean is salty because of rain, rivers, and rocks. It's got that fun alliteration. It's really easy to remember. I think it showcases GPT 4.5's great personality.
I remember how amazed we were with GPT-2 at the time. It's crazy how far we've come. So in addition to the work that we had to do to scale up systems to enable GPT 4.5, we also had to do a ton of work on architecture, data, and optimization to enable training it. And this incredible scale up in unsupervised learning led to quite a large boost on traditional LLM benchmarks compared to GPT 4.0. So for GPQA, which is a reasoning-heavy science eval, we see a very large boost. You'll note that, though, that it still lags behind OpenAI O3 Mini, which is able to think and reason before it responds, which is especially useful for this eval.
I couldn't get 70% if I couldn't think before answering those questions.
Yeah, me neither. So it's quite impressive to us that GPT 4.5 gets as high of a score as it does without being able to think before it responds. We see a pretty similar story for Amy, which is a competition math eval, and for SweBench Verified, which is an agentic coding eval. However, for Sweelancer, which is another agentic coding eval, which benefits more from a deeper world knowledge, we actually see that GPT 4.5 outperforms even OpenAI O3 Mini. And I think this really highlights the complementary nature of unsupervised learning alongside reasoning scale-ups. For multilingual MMLU, which is a multilingual language understanding benchmark covering a broad set of topics, we see a similar, if less dramatic, effect. And finally, for a multimodal understanding with MMMU, we see, again, another nice improvement relative to GPT 4.0. So we learned a ton from training GPT 4.5, and we expect to learn a lot from deploying it. So starting today, we will be releasing GPT 4.5 to all pro users of ChatGPT in web, mobile, and desktop via the model picker. And then next week, we'll be releasing to team and plus users, and with EDU and enterprise coming the following week. So GPT 4.5 seamlessly integrates with a number of ChatGPT features, including file and image upload, Canvas, and search. And in the future, we'll work hard to simplify the user experience so that AI just works for you.
We're also excited to release GPT 4.5 today to developers on all paid tiers. It has all the key features we think you need to build great applications like function calling, structured outputs, and more. For a full list of supported features, check out our blog. We can't wait to see what you all build with this model.
We believe that reasoning will be a core capability of our future models, but we also think that the two paradigms that we talked about today, unsupervised learning and reasoning, complement each other. Models like GPT 4.5 that have more world knowledge and are inherently smarter will be stronger foundations for future reasoning models and agents. With every new order of magnitude in compute in unsupervised learning, we discover novel capabilities. GPT 4.5 is really at the frontier of unsupervised learning. We're always surprised by the creativity with which the community discovers new capabilities when we share our models. So today we invite you to explore the frontier of unsupervised learning with us. We are really excited for this new era of intuitive, knowledgeable AI and human interaction of GPT 4.5.
All right, folks, this looks like it's it. GPT 4.5 is here with evals that are not beating the reasoning models at all. But I mean, this is just a supervised fine-tuning model. This is not a reasoning model. I found it very interesting that the beginning of the presentation did not go that well. They were struggling a little bit. But I was expecting, LTJ and Nistan, I was expecting the combined model. I remember Sam Altman talked about in his roadmap that 4.5 is going to be combined. Maybe they meant 5? GPT-5 is going to be reasoning combined. So there's no reasoning for this model at all. This is...
yeah, he said, so he said for GPT-5, they would do like, it would have reasoning capabilities within it. And they said GPT 4.5 would be the last non-chain of thought model.
I see. Okay. So we're getting our last non-chain of thought model is here. And on Sweebench, not Sweebench, on GPQA, it looks ridiculous. Getting 70% with no reasoning.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a big deal, I think. That most people are realizing. Also, they said this is a large model, so I'm guessing like a very large MOE, and they had to figure out some other way to serve it, or they're doing routing or whatever secret sauce that they're doing in the background. It's probably going to be some kind of MOE. I don't know. Personally, I do like models that just answer stuff directly on the first try, without necessarily reasoning, because reasoning is a variable. It's like, how long do you go for?
Yeah.
How long do you wait? It's not as good, as handy UX-wise, etc.
They released a system card that we can take a look at, but also I want to show this. Sam Altman tweeted about this while this presentation was going on, which they had better presentations, let's be honest, but it's fine. He said, the good news is the first model that feels like talking to a thoughtful person to me. I had several moments where I've sat back in my chair and been astonished at getting actual good advice from an AI. That's very interesting because specifically in the context of like advanced voice mode, whether or not we'd be able to actually talk to this model at some point. But then he's like, bad news, it is giant, expensive model. And we really wanted to launch it to Plus and Pro at the same time, but we've been growing like a lot and are out of GPUs. He's like, we're out of, folks, if anything, breaking news here, OpenAI is out of GPUs for this week. And he's like, next week we're going to get tens of thousands GPUs and then hundreds of thousands coming soon. So we'll see how soon that is. Tanishq, welcome to the stage. What's up, man? What do you think about this model?
Hello. Yeah, I think the problem is people to compare it to the reasoning model and think it sucks. And I don't know, it's hard to tell. I think this is like a model where we have to just play around with it to find out. Like, I don't know. I don't think the benchmarks tell us a whole lot except like, yeah, it's kind of better than GPT 4.0, and I think we just have to play around with it to actually say anything concrete about it.
Yeah, we're getting into this weird place now where only on evals on different benchmarks, like reasoning models will absolutely crush this. Sam Altman also mentioned this as well. He's like, heads up, this isn't a reasoning model, won't crush benchmarks. It's a different kind of intelligence, and there's a magic to it I haven't felt before. Really excited to people to try it out. I don't know if he's overhyping, but we definitely. I don't have access yet. They didn't enable me in the model drop down. Do you guys have access already?
I don't yet, but what I was going to mention on the benchmark note is there is like the creative benchmarks where we saw for 01, when you look at like they had like the personal writing kind of preferences where they showed in the original blog post 01 like barely has any improvement or actually is like a little bit worse than 4.0, where this is like significantly better than 4.0 at creative writing and all that. So I think it's good we're actually getting that improvement in areas where reasoning models weren't really improving things.
Yep, and they also mentioned the vibes eval or vibes checks or whatever they called it. They said that it's more like on creative writing and what feels good to us. I find it very interesting as well.
So one thing I'm looking at is yeah, I'm seeing people post about like the prices. Like for example, the API looks like GPT 4.5 like input is $75 per 1 million tokens,
Wow.
output $150 per 1 million tokens. And so like
Oof.
I mean it makes sense because apparently it's like a really big model, but like if the performance isn't really that much better over like 4.0, then I'm not sure why people would want to use it. So I think yeah, it's yeah, I think that's the problem is like sure it's probably like a better model in terms of vibes, but is it really that much better to justify using it in terms of at least for API? Maybe people will still use it for like personal use and things like this, but like for building products on top of this, like I don't know, we'll have to see, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you said 75 per 1 million, and then
yeah, input 75 per 1 million, output 150 per 1 million.
oof.
Holy crap, that's a big.
Well, at least we know that. At least we know that it's not like some, like if it's that high of a cost, then it's likely not like super compressed and distilled from like the actual original model. Like they're probably serving the actual full size thing or something like roughly similar in size to the original full size training.
You're saying unlike like GPT 4.0, for example?
Well, I'm not sure if GPT 4.0 is distilled or something, but like I think GPT 4.0 is probably smaller than original GPT 4 though.
Yeah.
Did GPQA jump of what 35% from 40 to 71 or what they showed? That means this is the highest scoring GPQA model.
Wait, really? What score does it get?
That there is. It was like 70-ish.
71.4 on GPQA.
Yeah, without any reasoning and stuff. I think that's a very big deal. It probably means like this is the best model you can get some kind of repeatable output of, or for data gen, etc. Because yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be just being a large model and scoring that high straight through on GPQA. I think that's a big deal to me, at least.
Yeah, feels huge.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, the other one I was curious about, which I don't know how to like think about this, but like the SWE Lancer one, right? That one has a pretty high. It was like 32.6. It's higher than apparently 03 Mini. I don't know like why is that like very high for some reason, but I also don't know too much about that benchmark. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so SWE Lancer, unlike SWE Bench, SWE Lancer came out as a benchmark that takes, if I'm not mistaken, like 1,000 or so tasks from Upwork, and they assign like an actual price to it, like how much this would cost to solve this task, and then they measure freelancer, I think, by kind of how many dollars is a model available to get, and it's very interesting. Like Tanish, like you said, GPT-4o gets 23% on Freelancer Diamond. O3 Mini gets 10%. So those are not necessarily like competition code and competition science, not even like Sweetbench. And this model has a significant jump. It takes like does on this set of tasks, it does 3x. I'll probably show this on live stream as well, which is, yeah, it's very, very interesting why this task specifically, they're focusing on this task now, right? Yep.
Yeah, I think what's cool too is Epoch AI has done some previous like analysis on compute scales and for GPQA specifically, where they actually observed like at least for the history of pre-training so far, there's been about an 11% increase per 10x scaling in training compute. And so this was I think like semi-confirmed to be about 10-15x more than GPT-4. And this is not 11%, this is 17% increase in GPQA. So with that like scaling trend, it's actually beating scaling expectations, at least in that category of abilities.
Yep. MMLU seems to be higher than O3 Mini as well. I wonder where they compare it to O3 Mini, and where is O3? So they said O3 is not going to come out. So they just like teased us with O3 with all those like crazy benchmarks, and O3 is going to be part of GPT-5, I'm assuming.
I mean, if it's $175 per million tokens output, and that thing's going to reason for that thing's just going to burn money to run.
Yeah, we've gotten 2 models that are very, very expensive this week. Claude 3.5, Claude Sonnet 3.7, and now we're getting 4.5, GPT 4.5 in the API. It looks like it's restricted access. It's very interesting. I think they're making money on this. They didn't release this to the Plus users, but they did release it as an API, which means that all of the wrappers who can afford it or are going to try to kind of spend money on getting customers will release 4.5 in the wrappers like super quick, right? Because like API is available to all tiers. If you guys remember, the O3 Mini API released only to like tier 5 level. O1 preview, and then O1 also released to like tier 5 level API, and then went down and kind of opened up. They released this one to all tiers of API, he said, right? So because of the price, they're like, all right, we don't care. Like whoever's going to use this, give us money. $150 per 1 million output tokens. It's crazy. $37 with cash for input. So like with input cash. It's like expensive models. What else do we know, folks? We have they showed one more chart that I want to talk about, which is comparative evaluations with human testers. Win rate against GPT-4o on everyday queries, on professional queries, and creative intelligence. And it looks like against GPT-4o, this model 4.5 on professional queries gets 63% of the time, and on creative intelligence it gets 56% of the time. This is kind of the vibey stuff that they were talking about, where like they're trying to suss out what's making this model better by kind of like comparative things. Because again, on evals, we know that those evals are like tested against, and reasoning models are getting those evals.
Yeah. Another aspect here that they mentioned they used the lower precision training, which I mean typically lately it's like FP16 for the past few years has kind of been the main precision used. So I think they're kind of confirming that they're using FP8 training, like similar to what gave DeepSeek like some substantial amount of efficiency gain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, I see lack of comparison to any other models. All of the things that I see right now in evals is them comparing it to Mini and then comparing it to previous models of their own. So here's an example of a simple QA accuracy and simple QA hallucination rate. Accuracy higher is better. They're getting 62% in simple QA, comparing it to GPT-4o at 38%, O1 at 47%, and O3 mini at 15%, which is almost nothing. And then hallucination rate is low. Go ahead.
The data set bills just went up
The day
20x. Yeah.
of creating data sets with this model?
Yeah. The data gen bills just went up way more. And I have to just get like 4 or 5 accounts and run an agent through them because this is 175 is a lot.
Yeah, it's an expensive model. Yeah, this feels like the first big model. Somebody, Brian, added this as a note. This feels like the first big model that we've got since GPT-4, almost, right? 4.0 almost felt like
Yeah.
a change at distillation, right, LDJ?
Sorry, repeat that question.
I'm saying like this feels like a big, like the first big model we got from OpenAI. That's not like reasoning or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
like a
even the
full
reasoning
pre-trained.
models, like I think even the reasoning models, I think wouldn't even be considered like necessarily big. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
We don't know how big because they didn't tell us anything. I don't know. We can't compare it to Grok, for example, because Grok was trained on a certain amount of GPUs, but I don't think they mentioned anything. They just said this is like very, very big, and we've trained it, and we had to like scale multiple techniques to be able to like actually give it in production to folks for usable user experience. But doesn't look like we're getting access yet. The drop-down picker on GPT website now is crazy. I'm just counting what I have access to without getting access to 4.5. I have GPT-4 Legacy, GPT-4o Mini, O1 Pro Mode, O3 Mini High, O3 Mini, O1, GPT-4 with scheduled task, and GPT-4o. And now I'm gonna get like 4.5. I think they addressed it in live stream. They said like, you know, the picker is going insane. We're working on making this better for you, so like it will choose the right model. But it feels like at this point, there's like too many things going on at once. I think that's it, folks. This is the live stream party for GPT 4.5. We've covered pretty much the evals. We're seeing that like on the eval, they really tried to show us evals there. First of all, compared only to OpenAI, they didn't compare it to anybody else. Maybe in the system card they did, but the evals that they show live on stream compared to GPT-4o and O1 and O1 Mini. This is not a reasoning model, so I was incorrect in thinking this would be the combined one. Looks like GPT-5 is going to be the combined one. This is a very big pre-trained model, and it will also absolutely improve reasoning models built on top of this, right? So LDJ, we talked about this multiple times, where kind of the underlying models of the reasoning models are like, as they improve as well, reasoning models obviously will improve because like it will just add thinking into on top of those models.
Yeah, and I think also I actually have some Claude and GPT 4.5 comparisons just pulled up on my screen here, and 3.5 and 3.7 and 3.5 respectively get 68 and 65% in GPQA, and while 4.5 gets 71.4%. And then in multimodal abilities, which is MMMU, that's the multimodal version of MLU basically, GPT 4.5 gets 74.4%, while 3.7 and 3.5 get 68 and they get 71 and 70.4%. So yeah, it seems like there's like all around like boost and even just multimodality and ability to do those things. Yeah.
And those are just evals, but as far
true.
as far as they're talking about, this model has like a way of talking that's different, or like creative writing or vibes or whatever. They're maybe hard to encapsulate in evals. So I'm assuming because the API is now available, we'll see this model in the LM Arena very quick, and like we'll start seeing kind of preferences show up.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play with this, folks. I'm excited to play. Like this week has been crazy. We've gotten voice mode for Grok. We've gotten Cloud Sonnet 2.7, which vibes are turning right now. I don't know if you guys are already noticing. And hopefully we'll get access to it soon to be able to ask it to create some SVGs and see how well it performs.
Yeah, actually, I just noticed in AIME too, the qualifying exam for Math Olympiad.
Yeah.
GPT 4.5 gets 36.7%, while 3.7 and 3.5 clouds get 23% and 16%. Like that's almost a doubling over the mass abilities, even though 3.7 is a reasoning model.
Yeah, I'm. Somebody recommended us to make it some SVGs. Somebody said check out Aiden's thread for multimodal images. So we're gonna show this out. It's it's pretty cool. He has some examples of like how it draws a self portrait in SVGs, and he's saying it left me feeling the AGI after playing a lot with this model recently. And they also like highlight this like a low-key research preview. But this is not for math or code. This is like just for a good feeling of how an AI can converse with you. I can't wait for them to connect this to like voice mode and then try, because voice mode sometimes, especially recently, became really kind of disappointing. So
I'm also wondering, like, yeah, like with GPT-4o, right? It was like this omnimodal model. That means it was like, I guess, trained with both input and output of like, yeah, all these different modalities. I mean, obviously, mostly image, but like, so like, I'm wondering if like GPT-4 or 4.5 can also do like image generation. Like, we still have not even seen that from GPT-4o yet. Like, that was something that like they showed in their demos, and they still have not released that. But apparently, I guess it's supposed to be a capability of the model.
yeah,
And I don't know if GPT 4.5 can do the same. And like with I'm like maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, or like I don't exactly know here, but like with GPT-4, like with the voice mode, is that like was that like part of the model, or was that like a separate part? Like if it's part of the model, so like was it like trained within the model? And then if so, then I'm wondering then if like it was trained for GPT 4.5 as well. But like I actually
Mhm.
am not sure exactly how it was trained for the voice mode for GPT-4o anyway.
I believe for 4.0 they did say like there's some like Will Depew and some others at OpenAI, they basically said it's like directly multimodal tokens in and out of like the same model. And so it does seem like it is one model able to generate and perceive all these things, like not even vision adapters, but something more like early fusion, like I guess, Chameleon or MoMA, I think, if you're familiar with those architectures, Tanish.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I thought. But then I guess yeah, I'm curious then if like GPT 4.5
hmm
was trained the same way, because like they clearly didn't show any demos of those sorts of things. So like I
Yeah.
think that's an
they were
open
they
question.
did say that recently advanced voice mode was opened up to everybody on the free tier, and that one uses 4.0 mini.
Yeah.
So there is a way for them to kind of adjust this probably, but yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I got access to it, by the way. So I'm trying to ask it to draw a unicorn SVG.
Oh,
We'll see how it
4.5.
fares.
Yeah, you have it on your screen right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's via the API and kind of the console.
Playground. Yeah.
So not yet in the UI, so not yet as part of the Pro, but yeah, everybody can get access to it right now, right? Like anybody who's paying should have this drop down in the platform.openai.com. So folks, yeah, go test it out. You don't
So
have to wait.
wait, is that means you have to pay for like basically API pricing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm absolutely paying the what was it, $75 per 1 million input
Okay.
tokens right now? Yes.
That's for input. Yeah, for output tokens, it's like $100-something per million
150.
output tokens. Yeah.
Yes.
Just a quick thing to add on the omni-modality thing that Tanish was talking about. I do recall in a recent Reddit AMA just in the past few weeks, one of the executives at OpenAI actually said that they plan to make like the image generation capabilities like natively for 4.0. They said like in the like around 2 months from now, they plan to make it available. And I think that was like maybe last month that he said it, so it might be like March or April that we might get something like that. And I believe Sam also said advanced voice mode will be a capability with GPT-5, and I think he kind of alluded to other omnimodal abilities for GPT-5 as well.
Yeah.
Seems like they're getting a little bit worried. I just don't want to use the word desperate, but that they're going all out, just like biggest model they can, most infrastructure they can throw at it, use all the tricks, train it all in FP8, just to maintain maintain some kind of lead. I don't know, I just think that's interesting.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, this was like a training run started before even Cloud 3.5, apparently. Like, this was, Orion was said to have started training like around May. And then I think it wasn't until even like a few months before that that like the first Cloud 3.5 released. And then we got like, I think Cloud 3.5 was kind of one of the main things that really put OpenAI in the hot seat, right? Because before that, I feel like it was kind of like debatable whether anybody was really like directly competing with OpenAI or not.
I made it generate an SVG unicorn. It looks kind of silly. It's really funny. I'm gonna paste it here. And I then realized that I don't want to save any SVG files, so I went to Claude and asked it to like build a SVG visualizer. But here's the GPT 4.5 unicorn, SVG unicorn, which I don't know what this test actually does, besides just playing around with this. But this was what was suggested in the comments. All right, folks. What else do we have to say here? Congrats.
Oh, people are saying. Sorry, I just read.
Yeah,
It
go ahead,
doesn't
go ahead.
support. It doesn't support tool use. So that's one thing. Someone from the audience messaged this. Oh wait, no, it does. Never mind. It was their fault. Okay, it supports tool use.
Yeah. There's a few updates. I see a tweet from Scott from Devon saying it's been awesome to work with. Agentic coding, it shows massive improvements over 01 and 4.0. That's very, very interesting, right? So I'm thinking about like, do you guys remember when 01 came out and a bunch of like, it crushed it on evals and benchmark and competitions, etc. But for many people couldn't use the reasoning models because of the way their prompts were constructed, etc. We now have some confirmation from at least Devin that says like in the way that their system is instructed, which is like a bunch of steps with with a bunch of prompts, GPT 4.5 crushes 01 and 4.0, which would make sense for 4.0, but 4.01 that this model will crush like reasoning models. Very interesting. Maybe instruction following is different. So very expensive, but yeah, everybody's reacting to the price, to the shocking price. And also, we don't know what the cutoff time is, right? I see Simon Willison says that the cutoff time is October 2023. Could that can't be correct? 2023 is 2 years ago. Did they mention any cutoff time, folks? I don't think so. But asking the models about their capabilities is almost useless, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be true because GPT 4.0, that knowledge cutoff date, even though it was released in May 2024, its knowledge cutoff was also October 2023.
Yeah.
And that was said to have released around the same time that Orion started training as well. So maybe they used the same data set.
Interesting.
There's another tweet that says it's mentioned in the API platform docs that its cutoff is October 2023.
It is mentioned?
It is, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think companies now, for some reason, like have this idea that because it's got access to web search, the idea of knowledge cutoff is meaningless.
Could it
And
be
I think,
that you're right? Could it be that the fact that like since then the web already was full with like AI slop, and this is like the last like feasible benchmark of knowledge, and yeah, it has access to real time information if it needs to.
It needs to be trained. It's how's it going to know all the latest changes in React, Tailwind, all of these apps from just from querying? That's going to end up bad. That actually needs to be trained in. Dinesh is right on that.
Yeah. How big do you think it is? What do you guys think? Let's take guesses and then finish up on this because
I think roughly around 5 trillion total parameters. I mean, I did like some math before of roughly like what the compute scale, like what would be the optimal parameter count and token count, etc., like on such compute scale. And I don't know, I think like maybe around 6-10 trillion parameters, but maybe they have a little bit of a distilled version actually running closer to like 3 trillion or less.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go like randomly kind of guess like 10 trillion. Yeah.
10 trillion.
So wait, is it only for pro users? It also said developers can use it, but is that API only?
Yeah, developers API. So if you go to platform.openai.com and you would want to pay those tokens, platform.openai.com, and if you want to shill out for those like token costs, you're able to play with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have to shell the $200.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see how the vibes are on it, but it is it unlimited use? Probably not too.
I mean, the more you pay, the more they give you. I'm assuming, like with these prices, you know.
It's great. It doesn't make sense to go limited. Like, it's like feed your entire code base to us. It's $100. Like,
Yeah.
I go through at least like 5 million tokens a day
Not
on like the various apps and whatever.
not with this model, man. Not with this model.
Yeah, definitely not with this one.
I think maybe one of the most valuable things here are the simple keyway hallucination scores. Like even compared to all the reasoning models they showed, like O1, O3 mini high, it has lower hallucination rates than all of those.
Yeah, dude, this one's gonna be the data gen one.
Yeah, and like things like if you have some type of use case where it's like really important to have high accuracy of like knowledge that you can't really easily like just rely on search or something for.
Yeah.
And
So
gonna have to start asking VCs to show you their Mercury. How much money do you have in the back for? Because we're moving to 4.5.
can I afford 4.5 on your budget? Yeah. So simple case is
Yeah,
quite crazy.
just remote desktop and agent in it. Yeah, if anybody's willing to let us remote desktop through their work account, we'll use it at any time it's idle.
Can we play around with this in the UI? Because again, via the API platform, you can play with it, but it doesn't have access to all like the canvas and everything, which they mentioned on stream. This model has access to all of the tools, like canvas, etc. Did not mention voice mode, but I'm hoping for voice mode as well. It doesn't
they
feel
don't have a choice. They don't have a choice but to release a voice model now, dude. Like, XAI is going to take them over.
No, I think that was an Omni model, and that was trained with voice through and through. That's why it was kind of dumb and it couldn't do tool use. And then maybe later they switched back to some kind of projection layer. I don't see why they can't add a projection layer to this, because it's just a projection layer. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, if you're gonna make a voice mode app, it's all gonna be agentic now. Anyway, you're gonna have
Yeah,
you're gonna have
I mean maybe for like GPT-5 model, if they're really, like some are saying, if they're really releasing a GPT-5 in just a few months, then maybe just doing like a large training run over this base model with like multimodal stuff included and like multimodal, projections and all that included in like this extra pre-training phase for multimodality, and then maybe doing that for, I don't know, however many GPUs for however many weeks or months, and having that end up as like this omnimodal thing with reasoning added on top and RL, and you end up with GPT-5.
Andre Carpenter has put out his tweet.
Oh yeah, what is he saying? Let's see. He's like, I had access to this already. Not like you plebs. No, let's see. Andre.
Does somebody want to read it?
Yeah, I'll put it up on screen.
I'll just read it. Should I read it? Does somebody want to read it? Okay. Today marks the release of GPT 4.5 by OpenAI. I've been looking forward to this for 2 years. Ever since GPT-4 was released, because this release offers a qualitative measurement of the slope of improvement you get out of scaling pre-training compute, i.e. simply training a bigger model. Each 0.5 in the version is roughly 10x pre-training compute. Interesting. Now, recall that GPT-1 barely generates coherent text. GPT-2 was a confused toy. GPT 2.5 was skipped straight into GPT-3, which was even more interesting. GPT 3.5 crossed the threshold where it was enough to actually ship as a product and sparked OpenAI's ChatGPT moment. And GPT-4 in turn also felt better, but I'll say that it definitely felt subtle. I remember being a part of a hackathon trying to find concrete prompts where GPT-4 outperformed 3.5. They definitely existed, but clear and concrete slam dunk examples were difficult to find. Is that everything was just a little bit better, but in a diffuse way. The word choice was a bit more creative. Understanding of nuance in the prompt was improved. Analogies made a bit more sense. The model was a little funnier. World knowledge and understanding was improved at the edges of rare domains. Hallucinations were a bit less frequent. The vibes were just a bit better. It felt like the water that rises all boats, where everything is slightly improved by 20%. So it is with that expectation that I went into testing GPT 4.5, which I had access to for a few days.
I knew it.
And which saw 10x more pre-training compute, 10x more pre-training compute
Oof.
than GPT-4. Holy shit. And I feel like, once again, I'm in the same hackathon 2 years ago. Everything is a little bit better and it's awesome, but also not exactly in ways that are trivial to point to. Still, it is incredible testing and exciting as other qualitative measures of a certain slope of capability that comes for free from just pre-training a bigger model. Keep in mind that 4.5 was only trained with pre-training, supervised fine-tuning, and RLHF. So this is not yet a reasoning model, not yet. Therefore, this model release does not push forward model capability in cases where reasoning is critical, math, code, etc. In these cases, training with RL and gaining thinking is incredibly important and works better. Even if it is on top of an older base model, example GPT-4-ish capability or so. Yeah, we know that. The state of the art here remains the full O1. Presumably, OpenAI will now be looking to further train with reinforcement learning on top of GPT 4.5 model to allow it to think and push model capability in these domains. However, we do actually expect to see an improvement in tasks that are not reasoning heavy, and I would say those are tasks that are more EQ as opposed to IQ related and bottlenecked by example word knowledge, creativity, analogy making, general understanding, humor, etc. So these are the tasks that I was most interested in during my vibe checks. So below, I thought it would be fun to highlight 5 funny and amusing prompts that test these capabilities and to organize them into the interface Ella Marina Lite right here on X. Using a combination of images and polls in the thread, sadly X does not allow you to include both image and a poll in a single post, so I have to create alternate posts that give images showing the prompt into one showing performer 5 and the poll, and people can vote of which one is better. After 8 hours, I'll reveal the identities of which model is which. Let's see what happens.
So he's doing basically Ella Marina on X, trying to do Ella Marina on X and get folks to like vote which one's better.
Before we go through these, actually, I was wanting to add real quick. I like that Karpathy added here, like the comparison of 3.5 to 4, because I feel like a lot of people do have like amnesia about that and kind of remember it as a bigger leap than it was. But if you actually look at the benchmark scores, like in the past of 3.5 versus 4, a lot of them are like 5% jump in benchmark, 10%, sometimes 20%, and like very similar range in how much the benchmarks actually leaped compared to what we see now between GPT-4 and 4.5.
And I remember this. This is when Thursday I started. We jumped into the space. We talked about this. Many people did not see the reason to switch to 4 in the beginning. Many people was like, a 3, like it's basically the same. But then after a while, nobody wanted to use 3 anymore. Like after a while, like tested a little bit. So I definitely agree with him that like this can be just like a little bit of improvement across everything. So he has a few examples, like create a dialogue between 4.5 and 4, where 4.5 playfully and sarcastically roasts 4 for its inferior capabilities, leading to GPT-4 humorously attempting to defend itself. I will not read this wall of text, though, because also X is not the right thing. Write a stand-up roasting OpenAI. That's interesting. That's a good one. We can probably ask it, right? We can ask it ourselves. So what do we think about the 10x thing that he mentioned? That's huge.
Yeah, I mean that lines up with like I don't know how much I've talked about this on Thursday AI, but there is like if you do the calculations of comparing GPT-2 to 3, 3 to 4, and like the estimated training compute for each, it is about 100x leap between each full generation jump, and each half generation jump on that same like order of magnitude scale is 10x. So 2 half jumps, 2 10x's equals full 100x generation leap. So this is appropriate for a GPT 4.5 leap. And it's kind of funny, people keep saying like this was supposed to be GPT-5, but a 10x compute leap does line up with it only being 4.5 rather than 5.
That's kind of what he alluded to as well, like 0.5 and the skipped version between, you say 2 and 3, right? Between
Yeah,
2
2 to 3 was 100x, 3 to 4 was another 100x, and so like half jumps are about 10x on that same like order of magnitude scale.
So does this mean that they have a 100x jump coming up, or the next one?
I think right now, it was rumored that around first half or potentially even Q1 of 2025, that they would have a 100K B100 cluster, or sorry, a B200 cluster, and that would allow, if you're doing lower precision training, like actually OpenAI just confirmed that they are, that would allow around 100x compute if you train for a few months on that over GPT-4. So it's possible even by, let's say, like the middle or end of this year that we could have like a true 100x leap over GPT-4.
Oof. Looking forward for that. And I'm also looking forward for the reasoning trained on top of this. Go ahead, Nissan.
I think it is a big deal to have a large model, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, including Pharrell. But if you want to have it concatenate an idea, or just like find the gist of the problem, or find the gist of an idea, you usually need to have like a lot of knowledge around it, a lot of experience, and explore a lot of different parts of that idea or of that problem in order to get the answer which you're looking for. And a lot of models, they can kind of sort of do that with the, or just rambling about it. I mean, it could be anything. It's just like you're building a new lawnmower, or you're growing grass in Sahara, or you're making a submarine, or whatever it is. It's like there's always, you feel like the model always has some kind of lack of knowledge, which prevents it from being able to summarize the idea, or like concentrate on the gist of it. So this is why having a much bigger one, you have a higher likely chance for it to be able to like concatenate it and just like capture the gist of it. Like this is how I feel on the creative side. So not only just to extrapolate, because they can all extrapolate based on whatever chain data they have, but like to actually compress the knowledge, I feel like it does often require a bigger model. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
There goes $200.
So I asked for 2 unicorns. It's probably cost me like $7. I don't know. But basically, draw me another unicorn with some sparkles. And then I followed up with, tell me a joke about these 2 unicorns. And then he gave me a joke and followed up with like those 2 unicorns. Why did one unicorn invite the other unicorn to a party? Because it was going to be totally uni-corny. Unicorny. I smiled. And also added some emojis at the end. It was definitely unexpected. I thought, this could be like cornier. It feels like humor is also part of those vibes that like we're getting, and the hard to estimate as well.
yeah,
I just wanted to comment on one thing with regard to the knowledge cutoff. It does, I confirmed personally that the cutoff for 4.5 is October of 2023. But one interesting thing is OpenAI pushed an update to GPT 4.0 in the ChatGPT app like a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, and that one has a later knowledge cutoff. It's like May of 2024 as opposed to October 2023. So it seems like maybe they continued pre-training of that model, but I think it's kind of surprising that the cutoff for October, or the cutoff for 4.5 is October 2023. So that might suggest that they have another model in the works, or made a new pre-training set for another model, or maybe they distilled a larger model that they had already made into the 4.0 model. But that wouldn't have been this 4.5 model, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like the 4.0 original pre-training data set was maybe like also used for the data of GPT 4.5 training. But I think maybe if we see GPT 5 soon, then that might have like that improved newer knowledge cutoff as well of June 2024.
Yeah, like they're doing a like allegedly continuous pre-train from 4.5, like 10 trillion parameters, as someone said earlier, and then like some really good post-training on it. And it just feels like, because I mean, that's what they did with 3.5 Sonnet, right? It's just a really good post-train with like coding and
Yeah,
whatever.
I
It
think they
goes up.
probably also include like omni-modality and stuff in like a continued pre-training too. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Oh yeah, that was pretty much it. Just like, I don't know. It's like pre-training is like not that much. Of course, it's like bigger model. You're gonna have less hallucinations, and you might like like the delta from like 3.5 to 4 was insane because the different like during that percent change, like what the model learns is more significant, and we can interpret that better. But what we can't interpret might be hidden in some of that change from like 4 to 4.5, like relatively same percent change, but we can't actually see what's happening there. So there might be some unexplainable features, whereas 3.5 to 4 was explainable because, you know, we're little like 20-watt human brains, and it might be hard to see what that is.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, like people, I was actually like in a group chat with some friends recently where I basically asked them like, hey, like let's say theoretically I had GPT-5 like secretly interacting with it right now. Like give me some prompts that would be able to tell you that like this is clearly better than GPT-4. And it was like this thought experiment I was like sitting with friends with, and like they all had difficulty, even like when I gave them 10 minutes, like all had difficulty thinking of a prompt that GPT-4 couldn't already do. Right, so like so even just being able to think of things that are really like some of them might say, oh, ask it to like create GTA 5, but like I mean that would be kind of, I think, way too out of the bounds of what we should really expect something like 4.5 or 5 to do, right? Like just because it can't create GTA 5 or something like that, I think doesn't mean that it's like not better.
Yeah, it's like, I hate to break it to you, but GPT-5 is not AGI. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they're like, what their reasoning like are, what that looks like. Be very curious because, like, you know, less hallucinations. There might be some features that aren't immediately obvious, but yeah, that'll be interesting to look at. There'll be like GPT 4.5 reasoning or like GPT 5 reasoning, whatever that is. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I think this whole idea of like, I don't want to be too controversial, but I think this whole idea of like scaling laws is like kind of half bullshit because you don't exactly need like the biggest model to win. Like, of course, having a bigger model helps, but you can also be like, you can also do like some crazy distilling, which I think Anthropic might have been doing, and literally just post training and better data. Like, I don't know. I don't see you needing like 10 trillion parameter model. I mean, I don't know if this isn't obvious at this point. Like you just don't need like the biggest model in the world by far to win. Like
Yeah,
Grok
I
3 mini,
agree. Yeah.
like
I
Grok 3
think
mini reasoning is still insane, right? That's like probably, I don't know, 70B.
yeah, I think it's like,
I kind of disagree. Like, I think you still need to train that model, even if you want to distill it, right? So, like, it
oh, if
is
you're talking
kind
about
of well
distillation,
established.
yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, if you're making the point that oh, you can have a smaller model because you can distill it, or whatever, like you still need to train a model, and like overall, like it's been kind of like established that like training a larger model than distilling it is going to be better than just training that small model from the get go. So like to me, it always seems like you still need to train that larger model, even if like downstream you're going to have like a distill smaller model that you use that's going to be quite performant. You still need to train at one point that larger model. So like I don't know. I don't think this necessarily like says anything about scaling laws or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean there is like general training efficiencies where you could basically you end up like changing the y-axis of that curve, even though the curve of the scaling slope doesn't necessarily change. Like for example, you can have a new type of algorithmic efficiencies and improvements to where now you might only need, let's say, like you might only need a 10K GPU H100 cluster running for 2 months in order to get the same amount of capabilities that previously 2 years ago would have required, let's say, 30K H100s running for 6 months, like something like that. And when you shift that curve, then the question is, okay, we might not have to use a 100K H100 cluster to get these capabilities. But if we add all these algorithmic improvements on top of scaling up, then we can get even better, right? Like we could shift to an even higher frontier of capabilities.
Yeah, like I still think that whole idea of like having a bigger model to distill, like I don't disagree with that at all. I just think it's, you know, I get the old like rune quote of basically small minds think architecture, medium minds think data, and great minds think flops, right? So it's like like sure you want to like you want to increase flops total, but like like
It's not the
I
only
want to jump
thing, yeah.
yeah, like I want to jump
DeepSeek
back
is
to architecture a little bit. Like there's definitely architectural improvements that can
Mhm.
make these models substantially better. Like
yeah, like
I don't know, we
like
have things like
DeepSeek.
MOE. Yeah, right, exactly. So you
Yeah.
can play around with like hyper sparse MOEs and like do some crazy experiments on those, and like who knows, right? Maybe if you I don't know, we've done enough experiments
For
with
sure,
MOEs.
yeah.
Someone will
Yeah, I mean, like an interesting dynamic here too is the idea of like it depends how fast you could scale too, but let's say that you're confident you can scale up compute for a training run like 100x in the next few months. Like, and I think actually even within these next 18 months, I think we might see some labs like do like 100 or 1000x more training compute than GPT-4. But if you, let's say, even if like China develops some new training efficiency technique that gives them like even 10 times more training efficiency than DeepSeek, then like even then you still wouldn't be able to match something where the Western labs are increasing compute by 100x or 1000x more, right? Like if you get the math that I'm describing.
yeah. I'll be
Yeah.
interested to see who like gets their hands on those B200s, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to just like add another point of conversation. And folks, we're probably gonna hop off the space. We've been on spaces that actually work to do. The pricing is absolutely insane compared to kind of the general upgrade in capabilities, right? $75 per 1 million input tokens, $150 per 1 million output tokens, compared to GPT-4o. GPT-4o is at $2.5 for input. So $75 to 2.5. The price jump does not seem to be comparable to the capabilities jump. Is that only me feeling this, or do you guys also agree?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. When I watched their video, it kind of felt like it seems like everyone from the lab who's talking about this is kind of talking about the vibes, right? Like the
Yeah.
vibes are better, you know, and there are some
Mhm.
benchmark improvements, but it's like if we're just talking to ourselves about the vibes being better, like I'm one of those people who would notice like, oh yeah, you know, the vibes are better. But I think like, you know, people outside or people who aren't AI researchers or enthusiasts or don't talk to models all the time probably don't. Uh, I'm not sure if they really care about that. So it seems
Mhm.
like a miss. It's kind of disappointing. It's kind of disappointing to me from that perspective, and the price.
I think that people who don't really care will care after they use like this model, and then they won't be able to go back to the previous one. This has been like proven with 4 and 3.5. After
Yeah,
4 came
true.
out, 3.5 was not like you just didn't want to interact with it anymore. And the only people who chose 3.5 were people in the API layer who opted for price and speed and latency versus kind of capability. And I think the same will happen here. The cost will go down 100%. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I think this we might see the cost of this go down faster than the cost of typical models over the past few months too, because I think like when you have these massive scale ups, usually we see these costs drop faster as like the ability to distill these capabilities or the ability to like often compress that smaller. I noticed like for they mentioned for GPT-5, Sama did say that for even free users would be able to use GPT-5. And I think in order for that to be true, I think even GPT-5 must end up being at least like equal at most, but likely lower API cost than GPT 4.5 is showing here.
you know,
And so I think they might have some plans to do like a lot more training efficiency improvements even on top of this for GPT-5, or like maybe more efficient architecture, more efficient framework of being able to have equal capabilities at cheaper cost.
I think they're price gating a little bit. If they're restricted by GPUs, like Sam said, and he literally said in his post, we're out of GPUs. We're going to open this up to pro tier people and then plus, and then maybe later to other folks. This feels like the pricing is, just like, hey, folks who really want to play with this, or maybe companies like, I don't know, Windsurf already added this and Cursor, etc. It's fine, but like you guys are gonna have to put. But it feels like this price is like gating price for now.
Yeah,
They
maybe
said they'll
also.
bring it to plus next week. So I'm a little confused. Like, are they expecting to like get GPUs like this week or something? Like, I'm a little confused why.
That's what he said.
So like they're just gonna get a bunch of GPUs this week and set it up, or I don't know. It seems like this is stuff like that would have been like sorted out before. I don't know. It just kind of seems a little bit odd, but I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think it's more like they want to probably prioritize the usage of like the subscribers and stuff rather than people through the API. And like so the API pricing, like obviously you don't pay API pricing when you're in the like subscription, like in the
Yep.
interface. And so this seems like mainly something to keep out the API customers. And I think it might just be because like you guys were saying, like the limited amount of GPUs for now, like they just want to keep more capacity for now. And as they get more B200s, which are maybe required to run this, then they could expand like access, lower prices, etc.
All right, so folks, I think we're at time here. We've been at this for an hour and a half after like 2 hour spaces from before. So I just wanted to try and sum up and kind of summarize everything we just got. So we joined OpenAI on their live stream, which interestingly Sam Altman didn't attend, and just like the researcher attended, which was super cool.
He was with his baby in the hospital.
Probably, yeah, probably. That's why. And we've got an announcement of GPT 4.5, which is not the frontier best model, but this is the largest, OpenAI's largest LLM, improving on GPT-4's computational efficiency by more than 10x. So they trained like a huge model and then released it. And they're going to release this first to pro tier members, which is $200 a month. And they also released it to everyone in the API, which is a very interesting choice for the staggering cost of $75 per 1 million input tokens and $150 per 1 million output tokens, which for comparison is more than 10x expensive on the output than GPT-4o, and I don't know, like 30x more expensive than on the input tokens than 4o. 4o is like $2.5 for 1 million input tokens. They have shown a bunch of evals compared only to themselves, not to other frontier labs, showing different things. I think the highlight of us was Nistan was here before and talking about GPQA. GPQA is Google Proof question and answer, like professor PhD levels for a non-reasoning model. The jump there was very much incredible. From I think to 75. Let's see. Yeah, and then they also mentioned this like vibe benchmark as well. So on GPQA they released an upgrade from 53% on GPT-4o to 71% for GPT 4.5. A jump in AIME math. Obviously nothing close to the reasoning models because this is not a reasoning model. This is a pre-trained model that just like auto-regressively spits out tokens. But basically 36% for AIME math versus 9 for GPT-4o. So this model can do math. Very interestingly, we talked about two software engineer benchmarks. So there's the SWE bench verified. The jump here from 4o is not that crazy. But there's also the SWE Lancer. There's a new benchmark that tries to solve real world from Upworks. And 4.5 got to a 32% on SWE Lancer Diamond, beating 4o at 23% and O3 Mini at 10% as well. Very high scores in MMLU Pro, multilingual, so 85% on those. So the benchmarks are good, but again, they mentioned that this model is not going to crush benchmarks on specifically math and code because that's kind of the realm of reasoning models right now. And then we read Karpathy's tweet that has access to this model where he talks about basically it's really challenging to come up with examples where this model can be better than kind of a reasoning model or other models, but it feels like better overall, more human overall, more instruction following overall, and kind of like across multiple paradigms, I would say. Well, this is an expensive model. They have mentioned that next week they're going to launch this on the Plus tier, so the $20 a month tier, and then following that, likely many other folks will get access as well. Anything else I missed in recap, LDJ, Tanishq, before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
All right. Then with this, thank you everyone for joining, listening to us ramble on, and doing like a live stream together with OpenAI. It's always an exciting day where we get a new model, a new big model. This is a 0.5 release, so scaled for 10x the compute from the previous models. And we will hopefully get access to it in the UI, so we won't have to pay that many tokens. If you're interested in how this was delivered or in the panel, please give them all a follow. And we are, this is not it, but we're usually doing a Thursday show on every Thursday. So this is kind of a continuation of that as well. Feel free to follow this as well. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm the AI evangelist with Weights and Biases, talking about new models, kind of what I do. So thank you all for joining. And we will cover this probably next week once we get more vibes of our own about this model. Like we cover models every week. So give me a follow and other folks as well. And yeah, go enjoy this model, folks. Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for hosting, Alex.
Thank you.